Under every new base I build for you, I see comments asking for a base with 3 or even 4 layers of protecting the TC. I hear you, and that's why today's base makes raiding directly to the TC a tough challenge, costing around 41 rockets. The base is entirely built out of triangles, and once it's completed, you'll have a loot room with space for 12 large boxes, a combat spawn, and a solid shooting floor that will protect you from door campers. To reach the loot room on the second floor, raiders will need to break through at least 2 walls, and if you want, you can surround the entire base with a compound. Later, if you add multi-TCs, you can raise the raid cost of the entire base to 80 rockets. Now let me show you everything inside. As you may have noticed, this base has its own compound with 3 separate entrances. From each gatehouse, you can shoot at players both outside and inside the compound. Naturally, if all the doors are open, it creates an airlock. Inside, you'll find what I'd call your final line of defense. A small box every Rust player should have, and of course you can shoot in all directions from this spot as well. Once you enter the compound, 2 turrets will immediately be watching you. These wooden foundations aren't placed randomly. They're here so that later in your wipe, if you need to add multi-TCs, you can simply break one of the wooden foundations and easily set them up. The base can be built entirely with just 1 TC, while the multi-TCs are just a bonus. The compound is designed with 3-sided symmetry, but not everyone will need all 3 combat spawns outside the base. I recommend using one for a bed, a box with minimal resources, and auxiliary batteries if needed. You'll notice I've walked through a third of the compound, and there's an exit here as well. Here's the main external combat spawn, fully equipped with a turret, 2 lockers, and 2 beds. From this position, you can control 2 entrances to the compound. The same room is mirrored on the other side of the compound. When I designed this base, my goal was to make it easy to build while being costly to raid offline. That's why there's only one main entrance, plenty of doors, and lots of walls. You'll see the number of doors throughout the base tour, and I'll show you just how many walls you'll have to get through when we reach the TC. I've strategically placed the turrets in the most essential spots. For example, if you try to raid this base through the doors, you'll see what you'll be up against. Beyond those doors lies a spacious and practical second floor. Here, you'll find an unlootable locker and a passage deeper into the base. Behind the level 3 workbench, there's another room designed for a large battery, which you'll use until the compound is built. Everything is well thought out. As I mentioned earlier, there are always 2 walls between the loot rooms and the outside. On the 3rd floor, you'll find extra furnaces for charcoal production and your main combat spawn. This floor has ample space, numerous storage boxes, and even a full loot room, as well as another locker. Don't worry, there are 2 ceilings between this floor and the roof, so you can use this loot room safely. Now, let's head to the shooting floor. There are 3 turrets covering this area, ensuring full control. From here, you can easily check if anyone is camping near your base. The shooting floor, like the rest of the base, is fully symmetrical. On each side, I've added my favorite pixel peaks, which make it tough for others to hit you, though you'll need some practice using them. You can shoot both long range and slightly downward from here, and of course, this is combined with an additional peak that overlooks the roof. Even though I didn't mention it earlier, from each of these positions you can cover 2 compound entrances at once. You can see my 2 sleeping bags down there. While the base is symmetrical, there's only one exit to the roof. This is so that when raiders blow through a door, they'll need to destroy all the turrets guarding the shooting floor. On the roof you'll find informative peak downs, additional spots to shoot from, 3 wind turbines, turrets, a mini-copter landing pad, and plenty of other useful features. If you need air defenses, there's definitely space for that here. Now that you're familiar with the base, let me show you the main section. I'll remind you that there are a lot of doors. Raiding this base through doors to reach the TC will cost as much as going through the walls, so building a bunker here is unnecessary, which is why I didn't include one. On the 1st floor, you'll find another turret and a loot room with 4 boxes, along with the TC, fully protected. Now, let me prove to you that this base has 4 walls protecting the TC. The shortest path to the TC involves breaking through 3 sheet metal walls and 1 HQM wall, and on top of that, there are plenty of doors. The offline protection of this base is very strong. And besides this base, I've prepared another one for you on my Patreon. It's perfect for teams of 2 or 3 players. This private base also has multiple layers of protecting the TC, an open core protected by 2 outer walls, and a well-fortified compound with turrets behind 3 fences. Additionally, the base features a hidden battery and some unique bunkers that I can't show here. For just $7.50, you'll gain access to this base and all the other content I've published there. which now includes a minimum of 16 private bases suited to any playstyle. The Patreon link is in the description. Subscribe, you won't regret it. As always, I recommend starting by laying out the foundation footprint of the base. This time, the entire base is built on triangular foundations, and finding a suitable location for this footprint should be fairly easy. The central section will be upgraded to HQM, followed by a metal contour around it and stone foundations for the shooting floor. At the very center, you'll find your starting base, which will base everything you need to survive in the early stages. I'll be showing you the final upgrade path right away, but you can start with stone if needed. In this starter base, you'll have 3 furnaces, 2 sleeping bags, a level 1 workbench, and 1 large storage box. If you need an additional box, you can install a shelf and place another one on top if needed. If you feel like you need more doors, you can add them, but keep in mind it may become less convenient to move around. Once you gather more resources, immediately start working on the second floor. You'll use a furnace to help you climb up initially. I recommend building the second floor entrance with a single door. I've gotten used to it and it feels more comfortable that way. Upgrade everything on this level to sheet metal and you'll be using a twig roof to climb up. The second floor will serve as your starter shooting floor. While I'm working on the second floor, I want to take a moment to give a big thank you to all my viewers who like, comment, discuss, and share my videos. Be sure to share your ideas for future base designs. I'm always trying to listen to every comment. Keep in mind that I'm primarily a solo duo player and I enjoy building smaller bases that fit my personal playstyle. I'd also like to give a special thanks to all my Patreon supporters. Thanks to you, my videos remain ad-free and I can continue doing what I love. It truly means a lot to me to be doing all of this on YouTube. Thank you. As you can see, the initial shooting floor is now fully functional and ready for use. Entering and exiting the base is also convenient. From the outside, your base should now look like this. Once you've reached this stage, the next step I recommend is adding additional walls on the first floor. By doing this, you'll have double walls around the TC area. I've marked the new walls in white so you can see exactly where to place them. For now, you'll access your base temporarily through an extension. Now, let's look at the first floor drop. We turn around and start constructing the stairway to the third floor right here. The stairway will be built using a ceiling placed in the middle of the wall. I recommend upgrading all of this to sheet metal as this is a crucial part of the base. If this stairway gets blown up during a raid, it could be problematic, so upgrading it to metal, despite having 3 walls outside of it, is worth it. In this area, don't forget that you also need a room for your first battery and a turret should be placed under the ceiling once you have it. If the 2 boxes on the first floor are already full, you can start creating another loot room here with 6 large boxes. Since this loot room will store your resources, it's logical to upgrade it to sheet metal. You will have 2 loot rooms like this in total. I'll walk you through setting up this loot room from a first-person perspective, but I'll speed up the process when setting up the second one. As you can see, even without using admin commands, everything is relatively easy to place. And now I've got a fully functional loot room with 6 large boxes. When you're ready, head over to the second window frame and repeat the same process. The building principles remain consistent throughout. If at this stage you're worried about someone breaking the floor under your boxes, just upgrade it to sheet metal. While you're online, I doubt anyone will bother doing that. This is how the base looks from the outside now. But hold on, we still have one more window to take care of. Underneath it, we'll add a ceiling in the middle of the wall and close it off with 2-story high walls. Now, from the outside, there will be just one remaining door that isn't fully built out yet. At this point, we'll create the main entrance to the base, which you'll be using for the rest of your wipe. I recommend upgrading the door frames to stone while upgrading everything else to metal. Make sure the doors open into each other to create an airlock. On the second floor, don't forget to add an extra shelf in the middle of the wall. Later, you can place shotgun traps there or even electric furnaces if you need them. Just like on the first floor, everything here should be upgraded to sheet metal. Once this is done, your main entrance is pretty much ready. From the outside, this is how it should look now. Now pay close attention. Around the perimeter of the base, we need to add 2-story high walls. I've marked these in black so you can see exactly where to place them. If you followed the guide so far, you shouldn't have any problems with this. Do this all the way around the base. Once the lower section is done, don't forget to cover everything with ceilings as well. Once completed, you'll have a much more symmetrical foundation. Now, let's move to the third floor. Here's your drop down, and we'll start building from the right side. This is where you'll place 3 furnaces behind a window frame. Moving further to the right, you'll find the exit to the shooting floor via an airlock. It's not necessary to upgrade this to sheet metal, so stone is fine. Even further to the right, you'll build the combat spawn area. Be careful to place the walls correctly here. Remember, aside from the bed, you'll also have a locker and a loot room with 4 large boxes. This is an important part of the third floor, so I recommend upgrading everything to sheet metal. Place the right bed first, then the left, as it's easier this way. If you have the barrel DLC, you can replace the 4 large boxes with 8 barrels, depending on your preference. In this loot room, I recommend storing everything necessary for online defense, building materials, syringes, rockets, grenades, and so on. This will be very helpful during an online raid because not everything you need can always fit into the locker or a small box. You could even have an emergency supply of DB shotguns, a juggernaut set, or anything else. As you can see, I've built everything correctly, so we can start moving forward. The next step is to start constructing the shooting floor. At this stage, your base should look like this from the outside. Now take a look. There's one set of stone foundations here, another one over there, and a third one near the entrance to the base. First, we raise stone frames 2 stories high. If you have extra resources, I highly recommend upgrading everything to sheet metal. Now you need to place a square ceiling in the center. If it's not letting you place it, just upgrade those walls to sheet metal and the ceiling will go up without issues. Afterwards, simply add window frames along the edges and close it all off with ceilings. In this guide, I upgrade them to stone, but if you have extra resources, it's better to go for sheet metal. With this setup, you'll be able to keep an eye on anyone camping your door if there are any. And since the base is fully symmetrical, you'll repeat the exact same steps on the other sides. I've sped this up so as not to waste too much of your time. I think everything's pretty straightforward here. Now that we've finished 3 sides, let's move on. In addition to the stone sides, we also have 3 sheet metal sides, where things will be done slightly differently. First, we add ceilings between the 2 floors and of course upgrade them to sheet metal. After that, add walls along the edges, raising them 2 stories high. There's no point in adding walls inside since they won't provide any real protection. Next, we go higher up to start building the shooting floor, and here is my favorite feature, the shooting floor with triangular roofs. Don't forget to add a ceiling in the center for a future turret once you have one. It's important to place this ceiling before adding the triangular roofs, as it won't let you place it afterwards. Moving up again, we add ceilings and then put up the small sides and more ceilings. I recommend upgrading the ceilings and barricades to sheet metal so they don't collapse from splash damage. Once that's done, just add triangular roofs for aesthetics. As for the auto turret, keep in mind that you won't be able to place it if you've already upgraded everything. You should either leave everything in stone or upgrade to sheet metal with the ability to rotate walls. Otherwise, you won't be able to place the turret. And with that, consider one side of the base done. On the other sides, we'll do the same, although not entirely. Pay attention! On the next side, you also need to add an exit to the roof. Don't forget this, or you won't be able to access the roof at all. On the third side, you have the entrance to the base below, so there will be fewer building elements here. Once you complete this, your shooting floor is essentially done. Now, let's move on to the roof itself. First, we need to add an additional layer of walls on the roof. This is necessary to protect the combat spawn on the 3rd floor, as well as the drop-down hatch leading directly to the 2nd floor. These extra walls are crucial, so don't skip this part when building the base. Next, we have 3 empty spots left. Each of these spots will be used as shooting positions. In the center, I place a window frame, and on the sides, door frames for peek downs. Notice that I also add 2 triangle frames, which are needed for the pixel peek. You can upgrade everything here to stone, since it doesn't provide much protection. Once that's done, add triangular roofs to these spots. The lower roofs should be upgraded to stone, while the upper ones can be wood. They're mostly for aesthetics. I'll show you right away how to place wind turbines. First, place 4 frames in this area, then climb up using a triangular roof. Next, place 2 sheet metal ceilings to prevent them from being easily destroyed, and then put the wind turbine on top. It will generate plenty of energy, so no need to worry. And with that, one side is complete. As you've probably guessed, we'll repeat the same process on the other 2 sides. I've sped up this part, but if it seems too fast for you, you can slow down the playback speed to 0.5 in the video settings. Still, I think everything should be clear. Now let's move on to building the compound. I'll start from the side of our entrance. Here's the entrance. The compound is built with three-sided symmetry, which means what I'm building now will also be mirrored on the other two sides. The gatehouses are built in the style often used by Alon in Tokyo. They are simple, cheap, reasonably well protected, and so on. The only thing is, my entrance door is a solo door, not a double one. This is necessary to at least provide some form of airlock. Don't forget to place 2 sleeping bags here, just in case, along with a box with DB shotguns. I always do this, and it has saved me more than once. Imagine, you get killed near your base, respawn on the bag, and you're ready for action again. One side of your base is done. On the other 2 sides, we'll do exactly the same thing. Once this is completed, you won't have a fully built compound yet, but you will have 3 solid preparations for it. Now, between them, we need to add 2 more preparations. These will also consist of squares, but won't have entrances. They will be used as external combat spawns and auxiliary battery rooms. Just in case you want to run pipes, add lots of lights, or set up more electrical systems. There's no point in upgrading these external additions to sheet metal because they only have regular doors, so just upgrade them to stone. If you're building a combat spawn, place a window frame. If it's for the battery room, just use a regular wall. Each combat spawn will have 2 beds, 2 lockers, and a turret. It's important to place the locker so that it sticks out from the double door, allowing you to use it even when the door is closed. Once one side is complete, repeat the same process on the other 2 sides. Make sure not to upgrade the triangle twig foundations. Those are for the future multi-TC setup. Now, all that's left is to place 1 high wooden wall between each of the external builds. After placing the wall, check that it's positioned correctly and doesn't interfere with your shooting. As you can see, they go down super smoothly and easily, and we'll do this on every side. Again, I'll speed this part up so as not to waste your time. While building this base, I thought, what if someone needs large furnaces? If you need them, just place them like this. Not only will they become a real problem for raiders, but you can also surround them with high external walls, 2 walls instead of just 1. And here's the beauty of it. Even if the outer fence is broken, the large furnace will still block access. And of course, at this stage, there will be naked players who will try to sneak onto your territory. That's why we'll place metal barricades on all the external builds. Now your compound is fully ready. Remember I mentioned that each of these structures on the territory can become a full-fledged multi-TC? That's exactly what I'm going to show you now. To keep everything neat and symmetrical, follow what I do step by step. I recommend putting these multi-TCs to good use. For example, I usually turn them into small external bases, storing some resources from the main base while equipping a bed and a couple of lockers. Notice how I built the multi-TC, but I can't seem to place the TC. I know why this is happening. It's because we need to remove the 2 twig foundations first. Once you do that, the TC will fit in its proper spot and you can seal it with a window frame and add glass. Raiding a simple multi-TC like this will cost at least 5 rockets. But what if your main base gets raided and the TC is destroyed? If that happens, you'd need to break the multi-TC to replace it. To avoid this, you can make the multi-TC disconnectable. That's why I added frames at the top like this. As you can see, everything works fine, so it should work for you too. Remove any extra foundations and you're left with a neat setup. Now, I just need to show you how to place the unlootable locker, but before that, I want to give a special shout out to my OP Patreon subscribers and a huge thanks to all my other supporters on Patreon. Thanks to you, I can keep doing what I love. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and check out my other videos. Now, I'm off to design a new base.